Is going on, guys? It's Yoji. Do you want to summon an army of minions? Are you tired of watching your minions kill stuff instead of fighting alongside them? Have you ever felt you constantly find yourself on the wrong side of heist doors? Why do enemies always have these brutal looking battle formations, while you just bring one rogue along with you? Well, with this dominating blow guardian, you can bring your own line of soldiers, turning the heist escape from a hit and run to more of a total war army clashing scenario, and getting rid of Heist League, making it more of a Siege League. This video will be more of a build showcase and a Yoji SSF progress update, and less of a full guide. However, there is a link to a full guide written by Balormage to his dominating blow guardian build in the video description below, which is a build very similar to what I am following and doing with this character. I will also put a link to my build into the video description below as well, so you can see with how little SSF gear this build can perform decently well in endgame. While Balor's Guide is for a trade league, I'm going to play this build in solo self-found. This league I've been taking it a bit slower, restarting in SSF almost 2 weeks, where I've been playing in a private league and in trade. I'm now just hitting tier 14 maps with this dominating blow guardian. And let me tell you, it can very well hold its own in tier 14 content with close to zero relevant damage or defensive stats on gear. Almost all my items are simply life and resistances at this point, as it is often the case in early solo self-found progression. So if you are looking for an extremely strong solo self-found league starter, this might be it. I leveled this character self-found from nothing, starting with Smite in Act 1, and then later in Act 2 using a 4-linked Herald of Purity, which is when the build really starts to pick up. Once you get to level 28, you can begin dominating blowing, and once you pick up Tribal Fury, you get to drop Ancestral Call, making the build feel a lot smoother, without gimping your damage by wasting a support link, and that's when the build really starts to shine. And this is also a setup you can use into early white maps very easily, to start farming up a 5-link or 6-link chest. This Guardian build feels very smooth to play thanks to Onslaught to minions and yourself, as well as having the Call to Arms for my Warcry. Making it instant. You could very well put your Warcry on left click and basically automating it that way. But I personally prefer actually trying to hit most of my minions with one Warcry to really make use of the buff, because I'm using Rallying Cry, which I do manually cast. It is a nice damage buff to your minions, but you could also use Enduring Cry to be even more tanky instead, and have way greater sustain. I'm currently using a janky low damage physical claw for life leech, and you really want as high attack speed as possible on this one, so you can proc your minions faster. I will eventually try and farm up as many Chimera Guardians as possible to try and get a Scourge Claw, which will be my best in slot weapon for all SSF purposes. Even without Enduring Cry, the character is very tanky. Over 6k life on very modest gear, Fortify, Life Leech, and in general good life recovery from the Guardian Ascendancy, as well as capped attack block chance and 62 spell block chance if I've used a spell recently, thanks to Glancing Blows and Bastion of Hope, which also makes me stun immune by the way. Bastion of Hope is also why I use Flame Dash as a movement skill instead of Dash or Shield Charge. So I get that nice 20% spell block chance to get closer to capping out. Glancing Blow still in my opinion feels really good after the nerfs, and once I'll get a Shaper Shield to craft spell block and life recovery on block on, I will be fully block capped while having amazing life recovery on block on top of it. The character is currently very well resist capped, so fitting in a few upgrades like these should be fairly easy at this stage. To boost the damage and clear of the character more, I will need to upgrade, find and craft some gear and influence spaces. I think this can be a good example of what to plan for in SSF and how to go about getting those upgrades. I plan to get some minion speed jewelry from Essence of Torment crafting eventually. This will make my dominating blow dudes run around faster and clear more effectively. For that, I open any essence chest I see in heists. Normally in trade that probably wouldn't be worth it, but for SSF essence crafting is still really nice to do. And I think my biggest upgrade for single target damage should be replacing my helmet with an Elder Helm. I will try to craft it with +2 to level of socketed minion gems, as well as an extra minion damage support link for my Herald of Purity, so I can have a 5-link Herald of Purity socketed in my helmet. Those Sentinels of Purity have really good single target damage, while the dominant Sentinels with their shield charges are really nice for clear speed, which is their main purpose. But they also do decent boss damage simply because there's 9 of them. The best way to go about crafting that helmet will probably be the use of bound fossils, to encourage minion affixes. Once I got these upgrades, maybe getting a +1 to all physical gems roll on a Warlord's Amulet might be a great way to boost the Herald of Purity damage even further. as the purity minions scale really well with levels. Which is not at all true for Dominating Blow, as these minions don't get as much of a boost from being higher level. After that, damage wise, it's probably onto Cluster Jewels. At least they could be a very good option, as I already have a 8 passive minion damage large Cluster Jewel, which I still need to roll good notables on first, and that can take a lot of time, especially in SSF. Plus I would still have to find 2 fitting medium Cluster Jewels to make the investment of passives even worth it. And as a really far out upgrade for endgame, I can always hope for a Circle of Guild ring with decent rolls to drop. But that is of course not very likely to happen anytime soon. I will however try to run every single Synthesis boss encounter I find to hopefully eventually maybe find one of those rings. So far I've made it to level 92 on this Guardian, and I plan to continue playing this build for quite a bit longer, as I'm very keen to see how it will fare in high endgame in my SSF Heist journey. On this character I've actually run every single heist contract I have found so far, and grand heisted whenever I had the coins to do so, as I'm really enjoying the league mechanic. The loot you get from it is also fantastic in SSF, and no matter how people hate on it, I still personally find myself to be enjoying Heist a lot. I think it is a great concept, even though it is very different from the general gameplay of PoE, at least in some ways. But there has to be room in an ARPG for variation in my opinion. Otherwise the game would become stale at some point, if everything is just speed clearing mobs to get as much loot as possible. And with the latest patches and fixes, the gameplay loop works a lot better in my opinion. And progression of the rogues and their gear is very fun to do. And also very much worth it, and crafting them at least a little bit for some reduced alert levels and experience gain to level them up faster. The storylines of the rogues are very well written and have been really exciting to follow for me personally so far. The one unique contract I've encountered so far is very fun to do and had a nice little boss fight at the end. Even if there is a lot of negative stuff to be said, I feel people seem to focus a bit too much on the downsides and the negatives of this league, and have forgotten about all the fun and awesome stuff this league has to offer as well. Well, at least I'm enjoying myself. That is it from me for this little update. Thank you to all the new and long-time people watching for reaching 38k subscribers. Our community has really been growing since I got back into making videos, and I always enjoy reading comments and all the interesting discussion you guys bring up around my videos. It's been pretty awesome. If you got any ideas for a good 40k subscriber special, let me know in the comments as well. This might be a good reason to try something fun and different for once. Thanks to my amazing Patreon supporters as well, for allowing me to put more time into this YouTube project. A lot more than I normally would be able to. I'm Yoji, and I will see you soon.